Hi guys, welcome to your day 4 notes in our factoring unit. We are going to talk about how to factor quadratics today. So quadratics are of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, but when that leading coefficient, or what we call a, is greater than 1. Okay, so how do we do that? So as you guys are seeing in the examples below, I've got like a 2 in front, a 4 in front, a 3 in front. So this is a bit different than what we did the other day, if I scroll back, where every single one of those had a 1 as a leading coefficient. Okay, so a little bit of a different procedure for today on how to factor these quadratics. So first let's fill in our steps. In order to do what I like to call the triangle method, which some people call the AC method, what we do, I'm just going to write this bigger. First step is we figure out what A times C is. And here's why we call it the triangle method. So I'm literally going to draw a little triangle there, okay, to figure out what A times C is. We're then going to figure out what two factors are that add to B, which is our middle term, off to the side. Okay, we then will rewrite the original, replacing that middle term, and then do factor by grouping to finish. Okay, now remember some sign rules. If A times C is negative, then that means your factors must have different signs. And if AC is positive, then that means they must have the same signs. So maybe positive, positive, or negative, negative. All right, so let's jump right on in. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to factor this guy. So draw your triangle. 2 times 4 is 8. So you're looking for factors of 8 that sum to 9. So you think 1 and 8, 2 and 4. 1 and 8 would be the obvious choice. So here's what I do. I rewrite that middle term using those numbers. I'm splitting the middle term. Now what I want to emphasize is that these are the same. Okay, 2x squared plus 9x plus 4 is the same thing as 2x squared plus 1x plus 8x plus 4. So you're not changing the expression, you're just changing the way it looks. Because now what I'm going to do is a factor by grouping. So out of the first 2 terms, I can pull out an x. Out of the next 2 terms, I can pull out a 4. Now, as we know, it's like these are like terms. That's your common binomial. So we can write it once. And then we have this leftover, which will become your second binomial. So times x plus 4. And that's your final factorization. Okay? Now, as we've discussed before, factoring is nice in that you can always check it by just refoiling it, which I'm just going to do it in my head. Like, obviously, 2x and x gives us 2x squared. And 2x times 4 gives us 8x. Plus another x is 9x. And then plus 4. So that's exactly what we were hoping for. Okay. I'm just going to erase this. So you didn't have to write that down. I'm just going to erase it. So yeah, you can always check that using a quick little foil. All right, moving on to our next example. Draw your triangle. So 4 times negative 3, that's important, is negative 12. So now I'm looking for factors of negative 12 that sum to negative 11. So I'm thinking negative 12 and positive 1. So this is where, okay, I know the signs have to be different in order to multiply to a negative, and then I need them to sum to negative 11, so it must be negative 12. Now you're rewriting using those numbers. Okay, so out of the first 2 terms, I can pull out a 4x. Now, out of the next 2 terms, there's nothing really to factor out except for a 1. And this is nice because that's what then emphasizes your common binomial of x minus 3, which I'm going to rewrite once, and then your leftover is 4x plus 1. and that's your factorization. So make sure you do take it that step further with the factor by grouping. This step is where students like to stop, where they just do the GCF of each set of two terms. It's like, awesome, I factored it, I see the common binomial, and I'm like, cool, rewrite it as the double bubbles. So please make sure you take it further. All right, 3 times 6 is 18. So factors of 18 that sum to 11. Okay, so you got 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. So I think 2 and 9 would be the ones, right? Because 9 times 2 gives you 18, and 9 plus 2 is 11. And I want to point out that technically these terms could be interchangeable. You'll still get something to factor out to work. So just a little heads up there. Okay, so out of the first two terms, I can pull out a 3x. Out of the next two terms, I can pull out a 2. There's your common binomial of x plus 3, so we'll write that once. And then we have our leftover of 3x plus 2. Okay. Let's keep rolling here, guys. All right, so number 4. 3 times negative 5 is negative 30. Didn't want to write that for some reason. All right, we're back. Negative 30. Okay, so factors of negative 30 that sum to 13. Okay, so just a little refresher here too, guys. Not that I think you need it for factors of 30, but let's just say hypothetically, you're forgetting what your factors of 30 are. Geez, this calculator is just way too big right now, but that's okay, I'll make it work. Remember, you can go to y equals. You can type in 30 divided by x and look at your table of values. So we need factors of negative 30, so I know the signs have to be different, and then I need them to sum to a positive 13. So I'm thinking 2 and 15 would work. Okay, so 2, 15. Now, this would have to be a negative 2 because, again, you need negative 30, and then you need them to sum to a positive 13. Okay. So from there, I'm going to rewrite this as 6x squared plus 15x minus 2x minus 5. Now, out of the first two terms, I can pull out a 3x. Now, out of the next two terms, I want you guys to notice how it's minus 2x minus 5. You want it to be 2x plus 5. So I'm actually going to factor out a negative 1 because with doing that, that then unveils the positive 2x plus 5, which then matches my binomial from the first half of the problem. So this is then 2x plus 5 times 3x minus 1. Okay. So at this point, guys, I'm going to say, I want you to pause the video if you're watching. And I want you to try to do the next 5 problems. See how you do. Okay, so again, pause the video right now and then unpause when you're ready for all the answers. Okay, maybe you hit unpause right now because you're looking for the answers, or maybe you just continued watching. What I did so far, just to give you a nudge in the right direction if you were stuck, is I went through and I figured out A, C for each of them. And then I went through and I wrote out what the factors would be that would multiply to the number that you need, while also adding to that middle term value that you need, that B term. Okay, so I'm going to say hit pause again, give it another whirl, and then we'll go over the answers. All right, let's go over this. So for number 5, you guys should have had 2x plus 3, x minus 4. That could be in either order. As I mentioned, if you did some factor by grouping and these were switched, you still would have ended up with the same result, okay? Just your common binomial was probably 2x plus 3. For number 6, you guys should have gotten 2x minus 1, 4x minus 3. Number 7 was 2x plus 3x plus 5. Number 8 was 2x plus 1x minus 3. This one was fun. I was factoring out a 1 at this step to help me get a common binomial of x minus 3. And then same thing here for 9. Our final answer is 3x plus 1, 2x minus 3. Okay? So feel free to pause the video if you need to go back and look at those. The final answer key is on WITS as well if you want to look there. Now, as far as this guess and check section, I'm just going to give that a nice little cross out so you can ignore that. We're just going to do what we call the AC or triangle method. All right, that concludes our factor by grouping or AC method factoring with trinomials where A is greater than 1. So I'm going to stop the video now. Good luck on the homework.